Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. I was just hosing off a couple of McCullochs and hosing off myself at the same time. So I put the stool up on the bench to elevate this XL500 because what I want to talk about, well, I want to make sure it's in good view, and the workbench is still such a freaking mess, I don't need all that clutter obscuring what we're talking about. Still waiting to hear back from Ken on what we're going to do with his granddad's saw. So yeah, it's still Super XL is still splatted. But why are we looking at the XL500? Well, I was musing in one of the other videos earlier this weekend about what the next rig I was going to take up the hill, and I had kind of forgotten about this, just in the sense that I'd set it aside. I had some real problems with it the last few times I took it out. It would start and it would run, but it would very quickly start starving for fuel. And I was almost to the point of assuming that I had done something wrong in the old wick system that's in here, because I kept that. I wanted this to be absolute original. Still got the points ignition and everything. I just wanted to kind of run it as it was. Just because, I don't know. I'm kind of like that sometimes. Anyway, yeah, it was to the point where I was like, yeah, what the hell? It's either that or the carb, but I think... No, I had not traded out the carb. I was being proud. I'm like, damn it, I've been through this thing. I know it's good. When I got into it, I don't know, about 4 or 5 months ago, and the screen had an off color to it. A lot of them do. But when I pulled it out and looked at it, I went, my gosh, there's actually varnish across that screen. And I think it was starving for fuel because of that screen. The inlet screen in the carburetor actually had varnished basically shut. So, yeah, bad on me for not looking at that a lot closer. Everything else I've been through again and again and again. So, if I have trouble with it the next time that I go up, it's got to be something in that fuel pickup system. But here's the thing. I can see the Tygon, there's never air bubbles in it. So anyway, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is, I get distracted easily. That video where I was musing, hey, I wonder what I'm going to take up next. Need to find something with a full wrap handle. Okay. You might know where I'm going with this. So there's some guys on eBay, or not eBay, Facebook, that have made some pretty nice looking custom full wrap handles for these style saws. But I remembered that I had a kit laying around that I'd put on a different saw that's just up in the attic. Like, no, I'm going to pull that down. So Homelite had a factory. They called it a wraparound. I call it a 3/4 wrap. Whatever. They had one, and I'm going to try not to lacerate myself on this guide bar, because that's a sharp chain. So, let me spin this around. The bar I've got on here is too heavy to hold, or for the saw to hold it upright. Okay, now there's that profile. So, the kit has a special bracket, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You could make one if you needed to. Wouldn't be hard. There's the profile view. So that's what you get. You get a bracket that's off of the drive case. So that's the downside to this. That's what you get, a bracket there. It secures this side. You got more than enough room for a gloved hand. I should have grabbed a pair of gloves. Hold on. I've got fairly big hands, so I wear an XL on any of these leather gloves. See that? I'm not fighting my way in there, just boom. So, where I was whining, I do that sometimes about needing, for a notch, do humble, do conventional. Conventional, I'd hold it from the top here. Humboldt, I want to go like this. And depending on what side of the tree I was on, I may need this way to do back cut. So plenty of room there. So that achieves that. Now, you don't see these kits around all that often. I first recall seeing it in the original Lone Super XL IPL. And it's not drawn in, okay? I'll put some pics in the video. In fact, by the time I've said this, it'll have already happened. There's no picture in the IPL, okay? It's just listed as an optional wraparound handle. And it details the contents, it details the part numbers. So the entire kit consists of the handlebar, the bracket, the handlebar bracket, the drive case cover bracket, and the screw that goes into the bottom. That's what it consists of. So everybody's going to run to the IPL. That's okay. I'll give some part numbers here too. The whole kit is an A63422 or A63422-A. Get to those differences in a minute. At least what I think. They maintained the same part number base for the handle bracket of 59651, but this is a -6B because it's cut out. It is drilled right here for a handguard. So this one would have been designed for the old style metal handguard that would just rest against here. There's no nub for the plastic one to hit. Makes sense with when it was made. The 63405, that's this piece of bracketry right here. And this is aluminum. I'm certain of that. Here's my... Yeah, that's aluminum. So it just bolts right here over your bar studs and goes up to the bottom of the handle here. And then an 80676, very common screw, goes. So you've got to screw that in, at least get it started most of the way before you tighten these down. That way you got enough wiggle to make it all work. So a very basic system. The handle attaches with the factory hardware on the bottom of the tank. Okay, you guys can see that in the video there. Very simple design. How come you don't see these things? Fairly useful. Yeah, this is a pain in the ass if you've got to take the bar off in the field because you threw the chain or you need to change the chain out or whatever. You need to have either a flathead screwdriver and hope that screw isn't wallered out, or take a 5/16 socket or a wrench, open-end wrench with you. It's an extra step. Yeah, that's kind of a pain in the ass. I get it. I've been annoyed with it at times myself because I've cut with it a couple times on just a regular Super XL. And yeah, I have a foxtail that I just saw peeking out of the cylinder here. In my OCD, can't have a foxtail in the cylinder. Well, anyway, this is my solution. I want to run this. Yeah, I think I've got it fixed. This makes it super easy for any of the falling that I need to do. I just took this 30-inch bar back off of the ProMac 850. That's what I ran the last 2 times out. And you know what? I haven't hit an ounce of dirt or a single rock. This thing is still utterly razor sharp. I actually left a little bit of a... You guys won't be able to see it more than likely, but I did a nice little bit of a score on my thumb there. So it's super sharp. 30-inch bar is within the capabilities of what the old Homelite specs are for an XL500 now. I wouldn't put this into dead, dry hardwood and just hog at it, but for some falling, I'm not too worried about it. The Homelite product spec sheet for this listed up to a 36-inch bar. Uh, these things are a 4.5 cubic inch, 70 what 4 cc's if I'm remembering correctly. So not far off of what an XL700 would have been. An XL700 was 77 cc. So, but this does have the automatic oiler, and again, it's well known that this chassis didn't support this size engine all that terribly well if you were going to really hog it, if you're going to really reef on it and put it through hard paces. Didn't go as well as it could. So, crankshaft journal is a little bit undersized. The flywheel doesn't move quite enough air to really keep up with cooling that big cylinder. But again, for what I want to do and for the novelty of it, this is great. So that kit, okay, I said something about the take rate apparently being small. Customers weren't buying them. Why was that? I don't know. My suspicion is the way it's drawn into the IPL. It doesn't draw your attention unless somebody opens that up, sits down, and goes, I'm going to read this from front to back because I literally have nothing else to do. I'm that guy sometimes. It doesn't stand out to you. It's just a few lines at the bottom of one page. I'm not sure that all that many dealers knew about it. I don't remember. Now, somebody could prove me wrong here, but I don't remember a service bulletin detailing that this was available. I don't recall one. So that's how typically a Homelite dealer would find out about it, whether it was a new product catalog that was sent out or in one of those service bulletins that they mailed out, a few times a year. So I don't know that a lot of people knew about it. Now, would you believe that this kit A63422-A was available through 1999? Talk about weird. I looked it up this morning because I was wondering, as I was getting ready to do this video, I thought, I want to get some facts together. So I went through the various price lists that I have in my collection and got to 99, and I'll be damned if it isn't there. So the original kit was an A63422 with no dash, and that was for the 5/16 studs. At some point it transitioned to having a dash A. I can only assume that they enlarged this to 3/8. This one was originally 5/16. I enlarged it to 3/8 for the other saw that it was on. It's not hurting anything back on here with 5/16 studs. But I think that's the only change that was made between the two. Now that final price in 1999 was about $60, 61 bucks, something, 60 and some change. I'm rounding up to 61. Essentially, that's what it was. So, yeah, I'm sure the 1977 price or the mid-80s price was a whole lot more reasonable than that. But I'm assuming it was still in the catalog for a reason. There's only two things I can think of. One, they had enough of them made that never sold. They were laying around, shit, why the hell would we obsolete it? Maybe we'll sell one. Or nobody ordered them for a long enough time that it didn't trigger anybody at corporate headquarters to go, hey, we need to pull this from the list. We don't have these anymore. We'll never know. That's just reality. We will never know. What I can say is I've had, in my time of dealing with what I do in these parts, roughly 15 years with the store in some fashion, I've had 3 of them come through in the parts lots that I've bought. I sold one of them. I installed one, and I tucked one away for me for another project later on down the road. So they're not overly common. I've seen a few of them pop up on eBay. I'd say once a year. Just going to ballpark it, once a year they pop up. So, kind of cool. Really cool, actually, for a Homelite geek, which, again, right here. So this design, you look at the new stuff, what they call a full wrap, it's this right here. It's not a full wrap. I mean, it's not the hoop that goes underneath that we're accustomed to on a Homelite saw, like a 925 Super Easy where you've got a circular handlebar. You've got your top handle up here, and then you've got that AV bracket that's right here, and just kind of what I'm calling a ram's horn that's off to the side, that's off of that AV bracket. So if you took this and twisted it back a little ways, that's what a modern one looks like. So here's another spot where Homelite, I would say, innovated. It just didn't catch on, and they kind of abandoned it. Because when you look through the IPLs for the 901, 903, 904, 921, 923, 924, they have these types available for them as well. They had them. Those may be even less common to see than on the Super XL version, but they had this style as well, and they had some full loops, and the full loops were easier for people to handle. Not intended. Easier to work with because you didn't have this bracket in the way anytime you wanted to pull the drive case cover. So. Anyway, this is probably longer than I intended it to be, but this is pretty neat. This is pretty cool. I like it on this saw. I liked having the green handle and the green bracket on there because it just fit the overall look of it. But this is vintage. This is period correct. I didn't go to the XL500 IPL and see if it's in there listed. But Homelite intended for it to be used when it was released. I mean, it fits the chassis. So, anyway, that's enough of me babbling. When I take this up to the hill, if at all possible, if where I'm working I can get in there with the equipment and the camera, we'll do some action shots of this thing cutting, because I'm curious. This will be the longest bar that I've run on it. I had the 20-inch Archer on there for just general day-to-day dinking around, and I'm not sure that I've run anything else. I think that was it. So, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the handlebar 3/4 wrap history lesson. I learned some stuff today too, preparing for it. So just another piece of that old Homelite puzzle.